Assalamu alaikum, boys and girls, and welcome to Story Time. I'm Sophia. Today, we are going to be learning about two prophets, Prophet Ishaq and Prophet Yacub. Who knows about Prophet Ishaq and Prophet Yacub? Last episode, we learned about Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Prophet Ibrahim had two wives. One was Hajar, whose son was Prophet Ismail, and the other wife was Sarah, whose son is Prophet Ishaq. MashaAllah, Prophet Ibrahim had two sons, and both of them became prophets. Can you imagine? We learned that Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam was asked by Allah to sacrifice his son. That means that he was asked by Allah to kill his son. This was not for Allah to be mean, but to see if Prophet Ibrahim truly loved Allah more than anything or anyone else. Allah tested Prophet Ibrahim to see if he trusted him and had full faith in Allah. Allah did not bring any harm to Ismail. He sent down the angels to keep him safe. And after this sacrifice, Prophet Ibrahim and his son, Prophet Ismail, built the Kaaba in Mecca, one stone at a time. Today, as Muslims, we face the Kaaba for every prayer. We also sacrifice animals for Eid al-Adha. We remember the great sacrifice Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam made for Allah and how Allah saved them both. May Allah bless Prophet Ibrahim and grant him peace. Say Ameen. May Allah bless Prophet Ismail and grant him peace. May Allah bless Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and all the other prophets and grant them peace. Ameen. Now, boys and girls, you should always say Ameen when making dua for your fellow brothers and sisters in Islam. Insha'Allah, the angels will also say Ameen and make the same duas for you. We all want blessings to be shared for everyone, including the prophets, the companions, and even our family, friends, me, and you. We all want blessings, right? We sure do. Now, Prophet Ibrahim, his wife Sarah, and their son Ishaq lived in Palestine. Ishaq, with the help of his son Yacub, built a house for Allah in Jerusalem, a city in Palestine, just as his father and brother had built a house for Allah in Mecca. Today, we know this to be called Masjid al-Aqsa, and Allah blessed the lands all around it. Have any of you heard of Masjid al-Aqsa? Have any of you seen pictures? Have any of you actually been to Masjid al-Aqsa? MashaAllah, this is one of the most beautiful mosques in the world. The Quran does not give much details of Prophet Ishaq alayhi salam's life, but we know that when Prophet Ibrahim was getting old and his life was drawing to a close, he wished to see Ishaq married. He did not want his son Ishaq to marry one of the idol worshippers around him, so he sent a trusty servant to Haran in Iraq to choose a bride for Ishaq. The servant's choice fell upon Rifqa. Ishaq married her and she gave birth to a set of twins, Isa and Yaqub. Do you remember which other prophet had twins, boys and girls? I'll give you a hint. He was the very first prophet. Who remembers their names? Anyone? That's right. Qabil and Habil, the sons of Prophet Adam. MashaAllah. Now when Ishaq grew old, his eyesight had weakened. Now this happens to everyone when they get a little older. Our bones and our muscles start to get weak too. Back in the days of Prophet Ishaq, however, he couldn't just go to the eye doctor for glasses. Instead, he had to ask other people for help when he couldn't see. He had a desire for food, so one day he asked his son Isa to go hunting and bring him some cooked animal. Ishaq asked Isa to bless the food and pray for him. Isa, a hunter, went out to get his father the meat. His mother, Rifaka, overhearing this, ordered her other son, Yacub, to slaughter 2 goats of his best flock and cook them as his father liked and bring it to him before his brother returned. She dressed Yacub in his brother's clothes and put goatskin on his arms and his neck, for Esau was hairy, while Yacub was not, and she wanted to disguise him and his hairy arms. Who has hairy arms? I hope you don't. When he approached his father with the food, his father asked, "Who are you?" And Yacub answered, "I am your son." When his father finished eating, he prayed for his son to be more blessed of the brothers and to prevail over them and all the people, and for Allah to sustain him and all of his children. When he left his father, his brother Esau, who had carried out his father's command, entered. Prophet Ishaq asked, "What is this, my son?" And he answered, "Well, father, this is the food you like." So Ishaq asked, "Didn't you just bring food an hour ago and ask me to pray for you?" Esau said, "No, I swear I did not, father." And he knew his brother had beat him to it and brought his father food first. He was very disappointed. All he asked was for his father to pray for him, that Allah made the earth good for his kids and increase his fruits. He knew his brother had tricked him into getting their father's blessings. Boys and girls, Esau tried so hard, but his brother took the credit and did the good deed and got the good deeds instead. Esau was very, very sad. Boys and girls, we must always be kind to our brothers and sisters, not just so that anyone will like us more, but for Allah to like us, for Allah to love us. One tiny trick from Yacub broke Esau's heart, and from that moment on, he swore he hated his brother. You see, kids, sometimes what may seem as a harmless trick to you may be hurtful to another, and you don't know what kind of hurt can cause other people to dislike you in the future. For Esau, this was too much to bear. Ill feelings of sadness and jealousy developed between Prophet Ishaq's boys when they grew into manhood. Esau disliked the fact that Yacub was favored by his father and by their mother and by Allah with prophethood. This jealousy became so serious that Esau threatened to kill his brother when their father, Prophet Ishaq, died. Fearing for his life, Yacub fled the country. Boys and girls, you should never ever be jealous of anyone. They may seem to have something you want now, but Allah alone knows what lies in your future. Allah may have something even better planned for you, but you just have to be a little bit patient if you want it. Now, when their mother found out that Esau threatened his brother Yacub, she commanded her son Yacub to go to her brother Laban, his uncle, in the land of Haran and live with him for a long time until his brother's anger calmed down. She told her son Yacub to marry one of Laban's daughters too. So Prophet Yacub alayhi salam left his family and set out for his journey. When night came, he found a place to rest. He took a stone and he put it under his head and he went to sleep. Ouch! Imagine that's what the prophets used to sleep on? Stones? Today we have nice, soft, comfy, fluffy pillows. Now Prophet Yacub dreamed of a ladder from heaven to earth. Angels were going up and down, and the Lord addressed him and said to him, "I will bless you and your children and make this land for you and for those who come after you." When he awoke, he was so happy from what he had seen in his dream, and he swore for Allah's sake that if he returned to his family safely, he would build a mosque for Allah the Almighty. He also vowed to give 1/10 of his property for the sake of Allah. He poured oil on the stone so as to recognize it and know this same place, and called the place the house of Allah. This, boys and girls, is where he eventually built Masjid al-Aqsa. When Yaqub reached his destination, his uncle had 2 daughters. The elder one was called Zia, and the younger one was Rahil. The younger was the better and the prettier of the 2. His uncle agreed to let him marry his daughter on the condition that Yaqub raise his sheep in their meadows for 7 years. After a period of time, his uncle prepared a feast and gathered people for the wedding. He married Zia, his elder daughter, to him that night. But she was weak and she was blind. She was a little bit ugly. When morning came, Yaqub discovered she was Zia, and he complained to the uncle, "You deceived me. I was engaged to Rahil, your prettier daughter, and you married me to Zia, the ugly one?" His uncle said, "It is not our tradition to marry the younger daughter before the elder daughter. However, if you love her sister, work another 7 years, and I will marry you to both of them." To both of them? Okay. So Yaqub worked for another 7 years and married Rahil. It was acceptable in their time for a man to marry 2 sisters. However, this is no longer permissible in Islam. The uncle gave a female slave to each of his daughters to give them assistance. Zia, the prettier of the 2, was blessed by Allah and gave birth to 7 boys for Prophet Yaqub. Rahil, who was unable to have as many children, also gave as birth to a son, a great, honorable, and beautiful son. She named him Yusuf. They also had another son named Benjamin. Yusuf also grew up to be a prophet. Yusuf and Benjamin were very good, obedient sons, and they became Yaqub's favorites because of their good behavior. We'll learn about Prophet Yusuf in another episode, so make sure you tune in, boys and girls. Now, all of this happened when they were in the land of Haran, and Yaqub alayhi salam was taking care of his uncle's sheep, which he did for a period of 20 years. Yaqub then asked his uncle to let him go and visit his family. He missed them dearly, and it had been quite a while since he'd seen them. His uncle said to him, "I have been blessed because of you. Ask me for whatever money you need." Yaqub said, "Give me a striped goat, a spotted goat, and a speckled goat, both born this year, and each black lamb." But none of Laban's animals had these qualities. Yaqub knew that there was nothing more that he needed from his uncle Laban. So Yaqub took fresh planks of local wood. He peeled streaks in them and he threw them into the water for the goats to look at. From this, the babies inside the animal's stomach were born striped, spotted, and speckled. When the sheep were breeding, he set their faces towards the black sheep in Laban's flock and put the rods amongst them. Their lambs were born black. This was considered an example of supernatural powers, a miracle of Allah. When there were no striped, spotted, or speckled goats, Prophet Yaqub seemed to make them out of nowhere. When there were no black lambs, Prophet Yaqub seemed to make them once again. But we all know it wasn't Prophet Yaqub. It was Allah, the Almighty. Subhanallah. Allah is the only one with the power to make anything